Hey Sunil, welcome to our Aavenir's podcast series where we talk about everything CLM, source to pay, and much more. Thank you for being with us today. And maybe if we can start with a quick introduction to our audiences about what you do, and yeah, we can start with that.
Well, thank you so much, Reza. Thanks for having me here. Sunil Masand. I head up product at Avenir. As everyone knows, we are a source to pay solutions provider on the ServiceNow platform with contract lifecycle management, both pre-signature enablement of contract management workflows as well as post-signature obligation management. These are our flagship solutions. Yeah, I've been in the industry for a few decades now, both you know both in the CLM space and source to pay space.
No, that's wonderful, Sunil. Thanks for being here, and I'm honored to be speaking to a veteran in the CLM and the source to space. So I'm sure this conversation is going to be really great today. So, let's talk about contracts, right? Because contracts can be a lot more than just a legal document, right? We're starting to see companies starting to look at it as a strategic document for business growth, right? So I wanted to get your thoughts on how you see contracts playing that bigger role in an organization beyond just a document of terms and conditions.
So contracts, like you said, enterprises they're beginning to see contracts as more strategic documents. In my mind, they've always thought they always knew that contracts are need to be strategic in nature, and they are strategic vehicles to manage risk. If there was no risk, there wouldn't be the need to get into a contract. What enterprises I feel struggle with, they struggle with looking at the process of managing contracts and automating contracts as strategic. So that's where in my mind I feel they struggle. Contracts, they clearly contain a huge amount of data that can be leveraged. There is risk embedded in contracts. There is risk because a contract has been put in place, and that risk could kick in after the signature of the contract as well. And there is clearly a need to be able to manage that risk on an upfront basis in terms of all the provisions that are included within a contract, as well as risk that now kicks in based on the performance or the obligations that different parties have to adhere to. And all of this data can be immensely helpful to other parts of the sourcing and procurement process, right? Even for example, if you think about supplier discovery, um, when enterprises try to go and seek out new suppliers, they primarily want to understand, of course, pricing is a key factor, their ability to deliver in time and such, with great quality. All of that is important. But then there is also supplier risk, in terms of not just, again, financial risk or geography risk. There's also risk that needs to be evaluated in terms of contract risk as well. How easy are they to do? Are they to contract with? A supplier could have very, very low or no risk, considering all these other external factors, financial risk or geography risk, and so on. But they may be getting into very risky contracts with other suppliers. So there is clearly um, intelligence that can be derived from contracts, that can be fed into, for example, in this case, the supplier discovery process. Similarly, you look at supplier performance post signature. How good have suppliers been in terms of delivering to contractual commitments? those insights can once again be used to feed into the renewal process, to feed into the discovery of new suppliers, that process as well. So clearly there is immense scope here to take that contract data and the intelligence that is built within that, and expose it out to other pieces of the entire process.
No, you're absolutely right. And looking at it, I think you're right. I mean, a contract contains so many pieces of valuable data that if you're able to leverage all of those data elements to feed back into other systems that you said, as risk management, vendor sourcing, qualification, negotiations. Yeah, I think that's how you're able to leverage that data and making it into a very strategic business driver, right? So it's very interesting, and that sort of brings me to my next question. So, you know, uh, back in the day, a CLM's role was largely just digitization of contracts, right? Transferring from paper documents to digital form, extracting metadata, and that was largely what just CLMs used to do. But I think a lot of that has changed today. Just from going from digitization to automation, I wanted to get your thoughts on where do you see this next? Because today, with all this data that we just spoke about, uh, I want to get your views on how you think contract intelligence using the data is going to reshape the way procurement and legal teams work.
Yep. So no surprises. The answer was actually in the question itself. So contract intelligence, right? So first of all, CLM automation or solutions that that power contracts, they've been around for a very, very long time, probably even longer than you and I have been around here in the tech world. And they've matured. They matured significantly. Like you mentioned, there's contract digitization, contract storage, automation of the contracting lifecycle, and now we are seeing AI get into the picture in a variety of ways, especially with all the generative AI advancements that we are seeing in the market right now. So clearly, that's where I see enterprises tapping into the power of AI and generative AI to help them manage their contracts and derive the intelligence that they've not been able to do so very effectively up until now. That's clearly one area. And then, like we've talked about, using that intelligence, that AI-driven intelligence, to either on its own or coupled with additional data to give yet more meaningful insights to drive, supplier sourcing, to drive, procurement decisions, to drive how, future negotiations with suppliers need to be conducted, and to drive compliance and best practices as well.
Okay. No, interesting, and I think some of the areas that I'm also seeing, right. I think with CLM these days, while I think there's a lot of value add in negotiations and supplier scoring and all of that, just general productivity of stopping the age-old rudimentary work that a lot of legal professionals used to do. A lot of that's going away, not because of automation, but AI enhancing the kind of work that legal professionals are doing these days, right?
Absolutely. I don't think you said the magic words, but agent AI agents that are now that have the ability to now actually perform the work of humans, make decisions just like contract managers do, and take action as well. Yes, clearly that's I see that happening imminently. And you called it out already that contract managers, right, when they receive a contract, the first thing they have to do, let's say they get a contract from a supplier, the first thing they want to do is to review the contract. They want to see what's the risk in this contract. Oh, this is not our language. We don't know. Um, Now they have to go and read through tens or maybe hundreds of pages of documents and identify risk, red line, send it back to the supplier. With the advancements in Gen AI and agentic AI workflows, clearly that can be automated in a big way, without even hopefully without human intervention, depending on the appetite that an enterprise has for autonomous decision making and execution of tasks, right? So in this example, clearly, when a third party document comes in, um, the an enterprise, exactly, the first pass review, reviewing of all of the terms and provisions, comparing it with the legal approved language if it exists, identifying ambiguities within a contract, identifying any missing provisions that should have been there, detecting the risk, and even automatically going and adding risk mitigation provisions within that contract. All of these can be automated and handed back to contract managers on a platter to either do a final check and then return it back, or once they gain confidence in the AI, I'm sure pretty soon we'll start seeing agents actually handling at least a few rounds of contract negotiation on their own. Yeah.
True, and I'm very excited to see a lot of this in our product these days, and I'm sure we'll talk about roadmap a little bit more. But I think that's definitely where things are headed. And like looking back earlier, a lot of businesses used to have these playbooks, right, to match standard terms or their clause library with new third party paper contracts coming in. But we're speaking about now AI being able to use data of historical contracts to start building playbooks based on what the company's general risk appetite is, right? I think that's something that I know that we've recently spoken about, but could you elaborate a little bit more on that use case as well, because I'm sure our audience would love to know more
So
about
yeah,
it.
yes, as the head of product here at Avenir, I talk to a number of our customers, right? And we tell them, look, now Gen AI can go and, very accurately go and compare third-party paper language against your pre-approved clause libraries, your playbooks, like you mentioned. And they tell me that, well, some of them do have playbooks in place, but many of them tell me we don't have a standard. We have a few contracts which we believe, represents our standard, risk averse position. So why don't you just compare it against that? So yes, we can do that as well. But getting back to what you were saying, actually AI can help generate those playbooks as well dynamically. An ideal playbook may not always be what has been pre-approved by legal and it's there and remains in place for a year or two. It also needs to represent what's happening in real time,
Right.
with
The way the businesses
negotiations.
evolve, right?
Exactly. And negotiations are happening on a daily basis, right? And regardless of what the playbook is, what are we really having to agree to 90% of the time, for example, in terms of liability or indemnification? And would it make sense for AI to go and look at that and then help us update our playbook so that we can cut contracting cycles? That's something to be looked at. And once again, Gen AI and AI agents can help with that.
No, I think that's wonderful, right? Because to be able to see your CLM sort of help you help you and your contracts evolve with the way the business is evolving, because you might start small as a small multi-million dollar business, and as you grow into hundreds of billions and $1 billion business, your contracting style, your risk appetites, your vendor profiles, all of that keep changing. I think an agentic AI based CLM would help you evolve without you having to stick to old practices, old processes, old documents, old templates. I think that's a very, very powerful use case that we're seeing with AI in a CLM. So talking about AI and AI adoption, I think there's still a lot of misconceptions out there about what AI can really do and what it cannot. Right. And based on what you're seeing from our interactions with customers and the product testings that you've been doing with some of our customers, what would you like to tell people who are looking at adopting AI as to what can AI really do and what it can't? And maybe just to add to that, do you see this evolve over the next few years as well, right? On how AI's capability in a CLM is also going to evolve.
Right, right. So you asked about misconceptions. Clearly, one misconception I hear is that AI is a magic bullet. It will always be 100% accurate. Technology is getting better and better every day, and it is definitely improving accuracy levels across the board, not just with our AI, across the board. The accuracy levels are improving, but it's not always 100% accurate. And AI is not a magic bullet. It will, especially AI in contract management, where you are, your goal is to go and put together a solid contract together, which puts you as the enterprise at the least amount of risk as possible, right? So one misconception is that AI will be 100% accurate. For example, identification of risk, identification of provisions and clauses is going to be 100%, or identification of obligations. AI will be able to do it, very accurately every single time. Probably not. Most of the time, yes. It will get better over time. And that brings us to misconception number 2, which is that, hey, if I have AI, I don't need to be involved. But, more often than not, a human in the loop to verify AI's results, or to also allow, for example, agentic AI to make a decision or take an action will be needed. I.e., at least for the near term, a human in the loop is needed, would not be avoidable. Yep. Will AI, other misconceptions that exist out there as well, will AI replace humans? No, it'll replace the tasks that you are doing. It will replace the tasks that you are doing and free up your time to work on higher value tasks, right?
No, absolutely. That sort of, Sunil, brings me to my last question. Right? We've spoken a lot about AI. We've spoken a lot about contracts becoming strategic business drivers, etc. And we're sort of at a time where there's a lot of innovation happening right now, and I'm really excited about what's coming up next, especially with Avenir's products. Right, so I want to hear from you, what can our customers expect as a part of our roadmap for our CLM contract management solutions?
Okay, so if you would have asked me this question yesterday, my answer would have been different. And if you ask me this question 2 days from now, my answer would likely be different. Things are changing at such a rapid pace, right? So clearly, let's first just look at what we already have in place. We have a robust contract repository solution out there that our customers can leverage. And again, many studies have shown that huge number of enterprises, they don't even have their basic repository in place. And what we offer is a repository coupled with AI, AI powered features to help enterprises go and access contracts and also gain some level of intelligence right within that repository only solution. Then what we also have is the pre-signature contract lifecycle management solution, the automation of the entire workflow, the redlining, and so on. We also have post signature obligation management, which is once again AI powered. Gen AI once again helps with extraction of obligations and then creation of tasks to go and manage those obligations throughout the life of the contract. What next for us, right? Next is really strengthening these products more with generative AI. We are also looking at creating a library of AI agents that can then be configured by implementations and called upon to execute certain tasks. Now, and we're looking to do that both on the in the pre-signature part of the process. One example, actually, I just shared. We're going to make that one a little more mature, which is the actual review of a contract where there are multiple agents working together. That would help. Legal, procurement, and other departments actually review contracts. And then on the post-signature side, once again, we are looking at rolling out multiple agents that will be a part of this framework or library to actually also, in addition to identification of obligations, also handle the fulfillment, i.e., even the autonomous fulfillment of obligation tasks. So that's where we are going in the near term, of course.
Wonderful, and definitely exciting times up ahead, right? So looking forward to a lot of those. Well, Sunil, thank you so much. It was a wonderful conversation and a lot. So I learned a lot, but more than that, I'm actually very excited about what's coming up next in this entire CLM space. So thank you for sharing your insights and thank you for being here with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Reza. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.